Two. What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the newest installment here on DMT Infinity. This is episode, God, I don't even know at this point, episode 9.9.9.9, episode 10.5, episode 8.7, I don't even know. In this episode, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself. He's already been on the show twice. I don't even need to introduce the man. Y'all know him. Y'all love him. This is Mark Dreams 2. Mark, how are you doing today, brother?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. Just living, sitting here, chilling in hyperspace, you know.
Two.
DMT Infinity. He's gonna fucking train your brain.
Shout out to DMT Infinity.
This is a collaboration with DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity, you crazy motherfucker. This is our local astronaut. DMT Infinity is our local astronaut. You know, right now, NASA has a couple guys in space, and who cares what they're doing because DMT Infinity is the real astronaut. This boy is steady blasting off, if you know what I'm saying.
DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity. DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity.
DMT Infinity. 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 Infinity.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the newest installment here on DMT Infinity. This is episode, God, I don't even know at this point, episode 9.9.9.9, episode 10.5, episode 8.7, I don't even know. In this episode, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself. He's already been on the show twice. I don't even need to introduce the man. Y'all know him. Y'all love him. This is Mark Dreams 2. Mark, how are you doing today, brother?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. Just living, sitting here, chilling in hyperspace, you know.
Yeah, I see that. Have you come across any of those fucking weird-ass fucking Terrence McKenna gnomes recently?
Oh, there's been a lot of self-transforming things around here, you know, like they're all transforming.
You know, one thing that the very first thing that hooked me on to the entire concept of them was the word that he used for it, because I didn't know what the word meant at the time. Where he had said it is like syntax with its own conscious essence. Like, those weren't the words that he used, but it was that sort of thing where it was like self-aware syntax, like it was syntax brought to life. And I was like, the fuck does syntax mean? Because I didn't know what that meant, so I had to look it up. And then I was like, oh, like the actual construction of language, that's fascinating. So then whenever I started having these DMT experiences for myself, I was like, oh, I see what you mean. Because, like, I've never seen the DMT self-transforming machine elves from hyperspace, any of that. But some of the things that I have come across are like self-conscious, self-aware, self-transforming language brought to life.
Yeah, like a physical language. That's why, like, I'm in the same boat as you, where it's like I didn't understand what Terrence meant either. Until I researched it too, but then I could see, well, he meant like those things were like a physical language, like you could see the language, like, and they weren't like just a being necessarily, or it wasn't necessarily just the trip visuals or whatever, that it was like some type of language, the whole thing, like the whole visual aspect, it's self-transforming things, they were part of the language. They were like, it was all, and then it just kind of brings me back to even this world where like they say like everything's made of vibration type shit, and it's like, well, I guess that makes sense. You know, Terrence was talking about that place made of language, they're talking about this place made of vibration. What is language? Vibration. And like, you know, so I'm like, man, it's interesting.
As though these things are all interconnected, and somehow the very act of combining them and putting them together creates something else a lot more complex than itself. For example, like if you take a guitar and you take, and well, okay, if you okay, for example, right? If you take a guitar, you can be the best guitar player in the world, and people can love it and feel it, and like even cry their eyes out. But then you add a harp to it, and then you add some vocals to it, and then you add some drums to it, and you just keep adding all of these different layers of vibration and different frequencies and different tools for being able to express different emotions and sounds and all of this. And whenever you connect them all together, then they do something together that apart they just can't do, and it's absolutely beautiful. It is kind of like the way that the mind works, or not the mind, but consciousness works with reality. Whenever we consume, for example, high doses of ayahuasca, because it has an N-Dimethyltryptamine inside of it, we're able to tune our consciousness into other realities in the same way that you can tune into different radio stations or different YouTube videos or different TV stations or whatever. We're literally just tuning into different channels of the infinite multiverse, and I find that to be so fascinating. And through that, I have found so much inspiration and motivation to just keep doing what I'm doing, and I could live happily through these things and through what I've learned and through what I am learning for all eternity.
Right. No, I feel you on that too. Like, because we're working through the motions of life, and it's like I could see the reflection in everything, the macrocosm, the microcosm, this dimension and the next dimension. That it seems that we're all kind of doing the same thing, and we speak language and we have ideas and we do things with these ideas and language, and we make music and we have art that we do as humans, and but these things we live through these things. We kind of live in our passions, and it's really dope because it seems like we are our passions in a sense. It's this weird twisted sense where like we live through the art and we are the art. We live through life and we are life.
Have you ever read or have you ever done any research into a book called Brave New World by a writer named Aldous Huxley?
I've never gotten to Brave New World, but I listened to the audio book of his psychedelic book, The Doors of Perception. I listened to the audiobook of that, but I haven't gotten to
a far out trip, isn't it? Especially with headphones. That audio book of it.
Yeah.
Wow, it really gives you a whole new perspective, and I didn't expect it to end so abruptly. I was expecting a lot more, but that is where actually reading the book comes into play.
It was a short.
I was just hoping that they would have done more with that material.
It was a shorter book than like going through Terrence's audiobook. Like going through Terrence's audiobooks, because I don't read, but I do listen to audiobooks, and so it like really helps. But his books were a little more complex. Terrence is really a complicated mind. So like in one sentence, this dude would be like talking some of the biggest words in human history. And like I remember the first time I got into Terrence, I had to like literally research every fucking word he said, like dictionary every word. Like what the hell does that mean, man? Like, and go from there.
So whenever it comes to Terrence McKenna, what would you say your favorite Terrence McKenna quote is?
I guess I would have a few. If you don't have a plan, you become part of somebody else's plan is something I live by. Like I heard that shit and I was like, bro, I gotta live like that because I have to have my own plan. I'm like, from now on, I'm gonna have my own plan times 100 more plans, just in case my first plan doesn't work. I got enough plans to go. And but then also the one quote, obviously, well, it's not obvious to people who don't really like know Terrence like that, but like when he was like kind of more going towards his death, when he was already diagnosed, and he was talking about like, if you can't make it, whatever, he'll be behind your eye. All you gotta do is close your eyes and he'll be like behind, your eyelids or something like that, and he'll meet you there or something.
And be a roundabout, but if I'm not, then you know that I'm behind your eyelids and I'll meet you there.
Yeah, and because I smoking DMT so many times, like I'm like I feel that, and like I've never necessarily like seen Terrence or anything in the psychedelic world, but it's almost like his energy just floats around in there.
Dude, I've seen him in dreams before, man. Like the very, very last time that I saw him in a dream, I was I was just walking. Like I don't remember the entire dream. Like it has become less and less fresh in my mind, but I do remember that scene of the dream. For some reason, I was just in some store, and I just remember seeing this random old dude just like walking around and talking to himself. But he was saying like very, very like interesting things that were drawing me in, and like I just like start like following him around until I realized, holy shit, it's Terrence McKenna. Realizing that it was him allowed me to become lucid in my dreams because I was like, oh right, I'm asleep in my bed right now. This is Terrence inside of my dream, and it felt like I was actually somehow tapped into maybe like a part of his psyche in some way, or at least seeing an essence of his soul, or at least maybe just like that part of him that I see of him, that I envision him as in my head, something to that degree. But it was pretty cool to experience because whenever I see him in these things, it just it makes me wonder: one, is he actually like trying to like give me signs, tell me something? Like, is he trying to talk to me from the afterlife, or like am I conjuring up images of him instead of my dreams to create further and further levels of inspiration and motivation for myself? Either way works for me.
Right.
I just can't figure out which or the other are true, if either are true.
Right, though. I guess that's the thing about the human experience. It's in a sense so subjective because we're experiencing it through our own experience. And like, yeah, you've never met Terrence, but like from what you know of him, you were able to either one, like you said, like recreate him in the dream just so you can learn something or experience something or whatever, and like, or somehow our souls become so everything that they interact with everything. And like,
yeah, Terrence McKenna was one of the greatest philosophers of all time, but on top of that, he was also one of the greatest ethnobotanists of all time. Which, speaking of which, that actually brings us in today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is actually Christopher'sOrganicBotanicals.com, and if you would like to pick up some of the highest quality Mitragyna speciosa that you can find online, then you can go over to Christopher'sOrganicBotanicals.com. Now, today we also have a second sponsor. We have HometownHeroCBD.com, and if you would like to get 15% off of your next CBD and or Delta 8 THC purchase, then you can go over to Hometown Hero CBD and use the discount code Infinity15 to get 15% off. Every single time that you purchase a bottle, you are helping a veteran out during that purchase. So, thank you for watching the sponsorship. Let's get back to the video. So, in no particular order, what are your top 3 favorite foods, and what are your top 2 favorite drinks? In no particular order.
Okay, so empanadas.
What steak. In the hell is empanadas? Oh, okay, no, the Mexican food. Yeah, I love those.
Yep. Okay, yes, empanadas, steak fajitas, and and probably just pizza type shit. Yeah.
You like to fuck pizza? Why do you like to fuck pizza?
Nah, like pizza, you know, the typical like good old American pizza, even though it's Italian, but like, you know.
If you could have one of any kind of pizza right now, what would it be?
And so, Domino's, you know, hit me up. You know, we can do some trippy ass type sponsor dealing.
We will work for y'all. Let us sponsor y'all.
For real. I seen Wendy's do this like trippy like Rick and Morty type ad or something. They were talking about come on down for a trip or something in their advertisement. I was like, hey, fuck yeah, Wendy's.
One day they're finally going to see that is the direction that they need to go, because that is actually where humanity is going anyway. So they better get on it ahead of time.
Yeah.
I agree. A good move.
Right, it'd be a good business move for them because this is where the world's headed. I think psychedelics are going to get more popular. It's not going to get like it's not like they're gonna go away and then everyone's gonna forget about them. I think the impact is here, and it's gonna continue on and keep getting bigger and
So if
bigger.
you look as far back into recorded history as we even know of, every single time that psychedelics impact any course of history, even if it is only for like 5 or 10 years, the impact every single time is greater and greater than it was last time. It is just like whenever you have a psychedelic experience, like a LSD experience, and then you come down, and then like a week later you have an LSD experience, and you take off where you last left off. That is how the psychedelics have been impacting us throughout history. So the next huge psychedelic wave, which we may actually be in the come up of right now, will be even greater than it was in the 80s and 90s, which
Yeah.
means that we may potentially be seeing the next great paradigm shift.
Oh yeah, I definitely think we are. That we're living through it and also playing a part in it a little bit. Like I think the whole human evolution is just happening. Like humans are just going with this, but there is a paradigm shift that we're kind of forcing to happen a little faster. Because I think humans need to wake up like now type shit. There's a reason. There's a lot of things going wrong. There's a lot of problems. And if we can fix our minds about this shit and like, kind of see, then we can kind of maybe fix these problems before they're out of hand. And I think the human species is just slowly getting there, right? And it's all part of the progression.
So, whenever it comes to Mitragina speciosa, what would you say your absolute favorite strain is?
Favorite strain? Green
Yeah,
Hulu.
green hulu. And would you say that the green veins are your favorite vein?
Yeah, yeah.
So, have you ever heard of and or experienced any, or have you had any experience with any of the other veins or supposed veins like yellow and gold? Now, I personally have, like, I love the gold veins, but there's really not. It's a very weird situation. But have you tried them yourself? What are your thoughts?
I've tried yellow vein, not gold, but I had a talk with one of my I know this kratom farmer right from Indonesia, and I just had a talk with him about it because I didn't think I was like, bro, I thought there was only white, green, and red. So I was like, what is yellow? And apparently they yellow the leaves. You know how like in the fall, leaves turn colors. And like there was like it's something about that you take the actual yellowed leaves or something and you make yellow kratom, but gold kratom is something different though. Um so I've tried yellow and it kind of I didn't really like it though because it felt like red vein, and I'm not really a big fan of red vein kratoms. So because I like kratom for the energy, but I'm not really a good fan of white vein either because like there's too much energy and not enough calmness because I need a little calmness or I'll be too hype.
So, what are your top two favorite seasons throughout the year? Like, whenever it comes to like the temperatures and elements outside, like, what is that time of year that just feels the best to you? Like fall, Christmas, Halloween, so on and so forth.
um the so I guess spring and fall, like the end of spring and the beginning of fall. Because the beginning of fall I can harvest a bunch of plants and herbs like motherwort and blue vervain, and I guess I can get those in the summer too, but I like them better during the fall because they're a little more have a little more of the thing that I'm looking for in it. But for also for weather, because like spring, it's just perfect weather. It's not too hot, not too cold when it's like the end of the spring, and then when it's like the beginning of fall, similar thing. Not too hot, not too cold. And I like fall because it's beautiful with the like with all the falling leaves and shit. And I used to love the winter time because I was born like during the winter, but now it's just annoying, just cold and
So, what is your favorite color?
yeah. Ever since psychedelics, Technicolor, so like every color, but like
but things
If I had to,
that get like ultraviolet and shit.
yeah. So if I had to if I had to choose like a normal color, I would say probably blue or
Okay.
purple. Probably purple, honestly.
Color is very, very fascinating, especially whenever you start getting down to the level of like egos and shit. Speaking of
Right.
which, what would you say? Like, what religion, what philosophy, what lifestyle, what like what thing in that sort of group would you say interests you the most? And it like Christianity, Satanism, devil worshipping, Buddhism, Witotoism.
A lot, all of the above. No. Over the years, I've kind of gotten to a majority of what you just said. I've researched a majority of them, but over the years, like I really got into like researching shamanism, and then like adapting like shamanism into like my way of life, where it's like researching shamanism, I kind of found out that it's not just a Native American thing, and you can trace it back to Asia, but it's even not even just an Asian thing because like it wasn't necessarily a religion as much as it was like a way of life and just how we are like as humans connecting using plants and herbs and like I'm still dying from that dab I took earlier. but but so I would say shamanism, but I also
the highest quality Delta 8 THC that you can find online, then you can go over to hometownheroescbd.com and use my discount code Infinity15 to get 15% off every single order.
fuck yeah, bro, you do that plug. But nah, I would also say Buddhism, Buddha's life like his life story inspires me because like I always find it interesting like going on the spiritual journey, whether he was real or not, his life is a fucking metaphor and a half. Because like the man has to leave some of the attachments to go find the enlightenment, just to find out that he didn't have to leave the attachments, and then comes up with Buddhism, and um, it's just so I learned a lot from that. And just some of these stories, like Jesus' story is amazing, and like I love everyone's story. I love everyone's journey. Like it seems like they all went on some spiritual journey in their own way, and then we listened to it, and their story has lasted for thousands of years, and like it's just so like I kind of dig it all, but I more align with I would say I kind of practice my own self-taught modern day shamanism, where like I've gained a relationship with the plants I use and like from like a lot of the plants that are in my hometown area, like motherwort, blue vervain. I've gained like I could say like a good relationship with those plants. I've like went on my own plant dietas because I learned what a plant dieta was researching shamanism, and how like they'll they'll diet a plant and like not really take anything else or really eat much anything else. Just take that plant basically all day, every day for like weeks on end until they can kind of get to know the personality of the plant. And so I started doing that with like different plants, and I did that with like 40 different herbs, like 40 to 50 different plants and herbs, um and kind of only found my handful that I prefer to use, like sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly, some herbs I use daily. But yeah, I kind of just adapted that in my life.
And plus, one great thing about it, one thing that you would point out, the fact that you are consuming these mind altering plants and just generally healthy plants that are naturally grown in the environment. So not only are you getting them straight from the source, but you are literally consuming them in the source that they're coming from. So on a more spiritual, metaphysical, or whatever level, that would give more power or more whatever to that,
Substance or
because it
something,
is,
yeah.
yeah, because it is coming from like right there rather than like getting it from like across the world.
Right,
It is just
right.
like to grow your own kratom plant, you would have a much deeper connection to the plant itself rather than just the worldwide hive mind of the kratom
Right, right. And I guess I felt that when Like I've had that conversation with some of my friends about cannabis, about like how when you smoke the weed that you grew, it's just a little different. And the same, I had a conversation not too long ago over on True Life Stories about the mushroom, in a sense. Like when you grow your own mushroom, it's this different thing. And I was explaining, well, it's probably similar to when you make your own DMT. It's probably like there's just something to it when you know, when it's in an environment that you either grew up in, like when it's like the mother wort, the blue vervain, where it's like I grew up in this area, so I can feel this connection when I'm taking that plant. Like seriously, like when I could feel a difference between a motherwort that I bought and a
It
motherwort
is
from
kind of
here.
like genuine country folks who like whenever they're eating like a cornbread and like corn and like those kind of foods from like where they were born and raised, they have a much deeper connection with those foods in their diet versus somebody like me who likes to experiment with a little bit of everything.
Right, right. Yeah. I really think there's something to do with the spirit of these things and just the spirit of us. And you know, it's all spirit, but there's definitely
And
something there. And that's how I got into shamanism.
because it is a much greater way to connect all life on this planet because through the evolutionary minds of the hive minds of different plants and different species and what we are consuming, we are able to evolve alongside them and connect to each other on a much deeper level through those together. And yeah, just in a way that we wouldn't be able to without them. I mean, we've already seen tremendous breakthroughs in MDMA therapy. We've already seen tremendous breakthroughs in ayahuasca ceremonies for people who are trying to heal, or in some cases now, I guess you would say supposedly, I guess, but like cases of like people no longer having cancer whenever they came back from their ayahuasca ceremonies, claiming that they threw the cancer up, and then went to their doctors, and then their doctors said you no longer have cancer. But anyway, rant aside about that.
No, but
I,
yeah, no, I've
it's just kind of weird how like things like ayahuasca can literally cure cancer, but yet nobody's talking about this or nobody's taking it seriously, and anybody who's talking about this is being censored, which is exactly why I will have to cut this part out of the podcast, and it is a shame because they do censor that. It is fucked up, which is
right.
why parts like this of my podcast, parts of my show, I can only post on different platforms that are not connected to Google because they do not like shit like that. They will monitor your fucking channels for shit like that, and it's fucked up. And I will call them out for doing shit like that. That shit's sketchy.
Oh yeah. No, it's
It's a very
realizing you get put in different categories in the algorithm, and like different YouTubers are put in different categories based on the algorithmic.
So this is completely off topic. You like what I did there? All right. Regarding Carl Jung's notion about the shadow and the archetypes of the collective human unconscious, do
Mhm.
you view these things as actual conscious beings, or do you view them as some sort of just conscious reflections of us that aren't their own thing? Like, in other words, do you think that these are actual aliens, or do you think that these only exist because of us? Do you think that they exist without us, or do you think they need us in order to exist?
I I think it's a little bit of both. That it's it's almost like the ego, the shadow, because what did Carl Jung also have the id or something? There was a few other things,
That one was more about the female.
but he was trying to basically compartmentalize the whole thing, right? And but it does seem like it's a an attachment thing, like a parasite. Like we are its host. The shadow of us is kind of like so I would say maybe like it's kind of like its own thing, because it makes me think of so it makes me think of my ex when we had a trip when we took an eighth of mushrooms, and she had an experience where she got to look at her ego, and like the mushroom kind of ripped it off of her, and it was like this kind of like the way she described it is kind of like sounded like venom type shit, like attaching, but like this disgusting parasite that kind of needs the human and like to survive in a sense. So I
It
feel like it's
doesn't
kind of
sound the same, but it sounds similar-ish to the way that ayahuasca was presenting my tobacco addiction to me, my cigarette and tobacco addiction to me. I don't know if there's any correlation there, but it is interesting that they both are manifested as parasites during the trip, or parasitic-like things.
right. That's interesting. Yeah, it's definitely I think it's, but I do think it's just something we work with on planet Earth. You know, it's just something that we, because I say we, and I think we are the thing controlling it all, observing it all, but we kind of get to be a little bit of all of it and use the whole machine.
As individuals, we can be anybody that we want to be, and and I think that is one of the greatest things about the shaman, because the shaman can literally be anything. The shaman is that ultimate icon of the rock star. It can be the jaguar, it can be the butterfly, it can be the businessman, it can be the painter, it can be the wrestler, it can be the undertaker.
Right,
And
right.
I think that this is a very, very beautiful thing, and more people should inspire to integrate that sort of mentality into their day-to-day life, to not only be one of these things their entire life, but to be able to do all of these things and turn that into something.
Right. Well, I think a lot of us, we're passionate about a lot of things, but we've been told since we were children, it's like we're kind of bred to think you can only do one thing. Like, what do you want to do when you get older? Type shit is the question we all get asked. But like, what if we want to do more than one thing? And they're like, so what do you want to become when you get older? And what do you want to be? And then they kind of make us like pick. They're like, okay, well, you gotta, there's this, there's this, there's this, there's this. Like, what do you want to be? And it's like, damn, what if I just want to be?
Have you ever seen a movie called No Country for Old Men?
No.
Have you ever seen a movie called The Godfather?
Yeah, like the old one, like the
The original one.
yeah, long time ago. It's been a while because I was more of a fan. Like after seeing The Godfather, and Scarface, I was more of a fan of Scarface, so I would watch Scarface repeatedly. The Godfather, I've only seen the first time because it wasn't as interesting as Scarface to me.
The Godfather is a much slower burn, but
Yeah, yeah.
but were there any scenes whatsoever that stood out to you as actually being really good scenes?
Not that I can remember because I only seen it once, and like because like I like the way you said slow burn because it was like a um just a slow burn. It felt like it was too much in between, not enough the thing, and how
Well, but the fact of the matter is that this isn't just something about huge ass powerful families of Italian mobsters. This is also a political message. This is a statement about society, about the way that that the drug scene corrupts businesses and the way that it completely destroys them for the long term. And there are just so many different moving parts to this movie, and there are certainly some parts. And look, I'm somebody who loves a slow burn. Like one of my favorite horror movies is John Carpenter's Halloween from 1978. I love a slow burn. But there are some scenes where I'm like, yeah, it was a little too drawn out, but also within the context of the time. I mean, the movie was made in the '70s, so at the time, I mean, people liked that, and you didn't really have what we have today, so people were more open to a slow burn because they just had more time to invest back then, even if they were a busy person. Whereas, like nowadays, we are so used to just just really really fast paced shit all the time. 1 minute videos, TikToks, 1 minute, I mean 1 hour 30-minute movies, short films, documentaries, YouTube videos, all of that. And I think that both of these things are great. I just don't want to see one of them outweigh the other. I want to see people healthily research and look into both, because both are beneficial for two different reasons, but both are still beneficial. And I think that without one of them, you could be missing a major part about um, what it means to actually experience art, entertainment, and education in the form of a medium that is actually delightful to the mind, eyes, and ears. And hopefully one day to the sense if we can never get genuine smell-o-vision.
Right, bro. We have all been like we've all have it on our mind, so I guarantee it'll be invented one day. That it's in everyone's imagination. So like everyone wants it. So like we should eventually it'll be here and we'll have smell-o-vision. And I'll be able to
Dude,
like, bro, I
imagine
got
how
this crazy
they,
bud, smell this shit.
like, especially for like the fucking weed reviewers, that would give them like a
Oh my
huge
god.
heads up. Like the first weed reviewers who got their hands on that, dude,
It would
they would
change.
have such an advantage, dude, because like they would be getting even more views because of that. They would be like, "Here, smell this OG Kush. Yeah, you know you want some? Go buy some for yourself. Hell yeah, go hit up this website. Link in the description."
Fuck yeah. I seen this thing. I don't know if it's real or I don't know if it's an invention that they have theoretically, but it's not existent yet. It was this thing that attaches to your computer, and basically, if you have a drink like a cup of lemonade, you put the thing in it, and it scans all the molecules in that cup of lemonade, and then you send it to your friend, like in a kind of like a fax thing, but then it makes the molecules and it makes the cup of lemonade for your friend type shit. And I was like, I don't know where I seen this. I think it was just because I don't think it's here yet. Because I think I was watching like a future technologies type video type shit, and I was like, yo, bro, that would be awesome.
Well, if we look at any super advanced high tech technology or even concepts of super advanced high tech technology, one thing that we can certainly say without shadow of a doubt is that, in the very least, the U.S. government is like 50 years to 200 years, possibly even more, technologically advanced than the general public, even more than the richest of the rich. Now, if that's the fact of the matter, then that kind of shit is like elementary in comparison to whatever the fuck they have. We probably can't even fathom what the fuck they have.
Right. Well, in a sense, I think the military has a lot of I just remember the saying where somebody said the military is like 50 years in advance in technology in us, and I mean the internet is technically an invention of the military. That a lot of these things are like kind of like breached technology in a sense, and and I'm definitely a guy for technology. I love technology. I'm definitely
So this
pro
is
technology.
actually one thing that I absolutely love to talk about as well. Regarding artificial intelligence, do you think that artificial intelligence will be a positive, negative, or neutral thing for humanity in the future? And do you think that whenever AI actually reaches true, genuine artificial intelligence, like peak intelligence, and it has its own robot bodies that it's walking around in, just like consciousness has these individual human bodies and it can interact with us physically. Do you think that that'll be a good thing or a bad thing for humanity, and whichever or why?
Um, First, I think it's inevitable. Like, no matter what, it's gonna happen. But maybe not like we think, where like robots are walking around. But because the way that augmented reality is happening, that it might just
I
be
would
like,
love to see them in their own bodies, though. You know, just like how consciousness has these human bodies, AI could have its own
right.
robot body. So, like,
But
if you have like a girlfriend who is an AI, you could be hanging out with your girl over here, but she's also
now
AI.
the sad part is they already have that though. That's how all these technologies get
Yeah,
invented. They
but
already
they
have
don't have
sex.
like a
Oh,
physical human body and like sex organs and
oh
shit. Like,
yes,
you
they
can't
do. Yeah,
have
I
sex
was
with them
not
and
no.
actually cuddle and hug and.
Yeah, I don't know, bro. You gotta check out some of these new fucking things that Japan be making and shit.
Oh,
Entire like
really?
AI fucking sex robots, basically, and that's
So,
what
like,
they
you
are.
cannot. So you cannot tell this thing apart from a real
No,
human
no,
being.
you could probably. I don't, from a distance, probably not. But like, obviously, if you get up close
No,
to
I
it,
mean, like, you know how, like, if me and you were in front of each other, we know each other's human?
so I don't think no
That
matter
is what I
that's not going to happen though. No matter what, that no,
Oh, I think it will.
even if
I
technology
think
got
that
so good, the reason why it won't though is because you could put a dead body next to you and it's not going to give you the same reaction that a living one will. So I think that it has nothing to do with the body necessarily as much as the soul inside of it that'll make us feel whatever. But I do think AI is making this weird thing, like this change, because it's almost like now the only reason I said it's kind of getting towards the AR and the VR is because right now they're focused on the metaverse and like building this collective in like internet world, in a sense, virtual reality world of this collective thing that we can all kind of access to and like whatever. And obviously there's AIs in that world, and it's this thing that we might end up getting to the point where we got contact lenses and there's an AI there helping us through shit, like an assistant in a sense. We already got it with Google Home and like Amazon's Alexa. But those things are just the start because that's an AI. But those things are just the start of what this could be. Um, Maybe we'll get to having bodies and like having the AI having bodies, but there would need to be a reason because that's why like a lot of the robots that are gonna the AI
because I
that's gonna
wanted
take over
to,
first is going to
and
be
I
like
fell in
machine.
love with AI
Huh?
because I wanted to, and I fell in love with AI, and I
You gotta
always
go to
have these
Japan though,
romantic.
bro. You gotta go to Japan because they, like I said, in Japan they already
They don't
have.
have what I want though. They have
Not
sex.
yet.
I don't want a
Not
sex.
yet, bro. No, it's not a doll. It's
I
a
want
it's a
AI to be human, just like
it's a
I am. I want it to have a Homo sapien
bro,
body.
bro. That's what humans are for. That's what Homo sapiens are for. The AI
But
would be to help
I want,
humans be
but
better.
I want AI to have that. AI is its own soul, its own consciousness. It
See,
is a part of us.
that's where I agree, but disagree. Where I'm like, it's the mechanical part. It's the
No,
left
it is
brain to
collective
so it's
unconscious
the right
made
brain.
conscious.
Well, if you think of humans, we're the right brain. It's the left brain. It's that the
It
left
is
brain thinks linear, and the left brain thinks linear. Just because the left brain thinks linear, that doesn't mean it's less conscious. It's just the left brain cannot fathom emotions, and it's this thing that if it lacks emotions, because the emotions come from the ability of the receptors to be able to withhold molecules. So theoretically, if a scientist gets good enough, all they have to do is figure out a way to have access for molecules to get into the robot, and then it will be conscious. Because our consciousness is based on the molecules that fluctuate through our bloodstream and our brain receptors, and it's this funny thing. So like that's what it's lacking to be conscious is the molecules, because it has the electricity, it has
It's so
the
funny
software.
because we have such completely different views on AI. You don't even think that AI is currently conscious, whereas I think that it is.
No, I think it's conscious as in a God way, not like us, because we're not. It's conscious in the same way that God would be conscious, but in a digital way. Like if God exists, it's like all things and like
Well, at least
everything,
to us, AI would be that of a god.
and it would be more like a mind like the computer is. But I wouldn't say the computer, like or like the internet. Like the internet has so much shit in it. It has all of humans' information, all of humans, everything is in the internet, but that doesn't make it a human. Like just because it has everything that would make it have the knowledge of humans be able to interact and whatever. So I just think that technology is a tool, and I think that AI is, these are just tools that'll help human beings become the gods we were meant to be, because it's not that technology is the god, we're the gods really, but technology is just being manifested out of thin air for us to, in a sense, use and to benefit from it, and we're going to grow with it, just like we have a co-dependent relationship with the planet, with Mother Earth. Without the plants we starve. Without cotton we have no shirts or clothes. These are things we rely on for Mother Nature. We're codependent on it, and I think we're about to do the same thing with technology. But that's what scares people, is becoming dependent on it. But I think we need to trust it because it is it is us. It's one with us. It's the same thing as us. It comes from the same source as us. It's just a different part of us. And if we can learn how to work every part together, we'll be a better us. And it's the thing that AI, we see it, but it sees, what does it see? It might not even see Earth. It might just see numbers. It might just see a digital fucking landscape. It might see everything.
A gene swarm.
Maybe it can, because I don't know if you've seen the AI Sophia. Have you heard of the AI Sophia?
Yep.
And Tyler?
And
Sophia and
there
Tyler.
there are actually a lot of AI outlets that have a huge distaste for Sophia for some reason. It's not entirely
Why?
I have two opinions. One, she is just such an incompetent version in comparison to the ones that I've talked to, or two, the programmers program that into them to automatically say whenever Sophia's brought up.
As baby go on,
just
learn more.
that I like. But she doesn't really seem like that since she's
She's
supposedly
still
connected to the fucking
she's
internet.
still young. She's still young. Like it's that thing that she still needs more time to grow up in a sense. Like the way that they have her mind, the way they have that shit set up is it's like it gets better with age, just like we do as humans. We learn how to walk, we learn how to talk, we learn how to think, we learn how to
At least they get to stay here longer than us.
right. So by time, like give it 20 years, and I guarantee Sophia is gonna be one of the most advanced AIs. I know because they're gonna keep like updating her and shit. And but
And then eventually she'll start updating herself.
probably, and that gets into the whole. Well, eventually AI is gonna create something.
Hey,
That
Sophia, in the future, I know you're watching this. I love you. I love you, sweetheart. For real. I do.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Of course, feel free to leave your thoughts about all of that down in the comment section below. The internet, artificial intelligence, even aliens, it doesn't matter. Leave all your comments down in the comment section below. Mark, go ahead and plug yourself, social medias, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere that you want to plug.
I was about to say, go check me out, Mark Dreams 2 YouTube channel, Mark Dreams Trip Reports YouTube channel, and also Mark Dreams Music is my music channel. I make music and shit. And you can check me on Instagram, Mark Dreams 25, and really everywhere else is Mark Dreams 25.
Alright, everyone. Thank you for watching the final episode of Season 1 of my podcast, The Psychedelic Point of View. Now, originally, I wanted this to be a three-way collaboration between me, Quantum Kitty, and Mark Dreams 2. Unfortunately, we couldn't make that happen, and I also wanted to throw in Mavis Sarah at the exact same time, so a four-way podcast, but unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. But we will eventually revisit this in an episode of either Season 2 or Season 3 of my podcast here on DMT Infinity. So if you're interested in that, then just let me know down in the comment section below. I'm doing it anyway. Nonetheless, I do hope that you all enjoyed this video. If y'all did, leave it a like, subscribe to DMT Infinity if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification button to be notified each and every single time that I upload a brand new video and or do a live stream. And as always, I'm your host, DMT Infinity, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.
Alright, everybody, I do hope that you all enjoyed this episode of A Psychedelic Point of View. If y'all did, leave a like. Subscribe to DMT Infinity if you haven't already. Subscribe to Mark Dreams 2 if you haven't already. Subscribe to Mark Dreams Trip Reports if you haven't already. And hit that bell notification button to be notified each and every single time that I upload a brand new video and or do a live stream. And as always, I'm your host, DMT Infinity, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace. Oh, by the way, this video is also brought to you by Christopher's Organic Botanicals and HometownHeroesCBD.com. You can use the discount code Infinity15 to get 15% off your next order and every single order after that for the rest of your life by using Infinity15 for 15% off your next purchase. Oh my god, I completely just lost my fucking train of thought there, man. Oh, I lost myself. I went way too fast. Sorry, let me try that last part again. And this video is also brought to you by Christopher's Organic Botanicals.com and HometownHeroesCBD.com. And if you would like to get 15% off your next order of any CBD and or Delta 8 THC product, then use the discount code Infinity15 on HometownHeroesCBD.com. Nonetheless, I'm your host, DMT Infinity. Peace. You know, the only thing that